Hello, I am Dr. Shibu Vijayan, Medical Director, Global Health at Cure.ai. Welcome to the Qureosity episode number 5 with me. Today we have a very interesting global expert on tuberculosis and lung health. Guess who is that? None other than Dr. Chakaya. Welcome Dr. Chakaya to the show.
Thank you very much.
It will be very difficult to actually kind of introduce Dr. Chakaya because his CV is so rich. Dr. Chakaya is an you are the past president of International Union Against TB and Lung Disease, and he is an expert in the Strategic Technical Advisory Group of WHO. He was an ex-vice chair of Stop TB Partnership. He was an ex-NT National Tuberculosis Program Manager of in Kenya. And is more than that, he's a global expert in TB and lung diseases. He contributed to the knowledge of TB and lung diseases. Good to have you here, Dr. Chakaya.
Thank you very much, Dr.
Yeah, so Dr. Chakaya, you are part of a WHO strategic advisory group, and you contributed to many of the global tuberculosis strategies. Now we have a plan for global plan to end tuberculosis, and you also mentioned about during the conference you also mentioned about there is a huge diagnostic gap. So what are your thoughts on filling that diagnostic gaps? How do you see that diagnostic gap filling will take us to the ending TB plan?
I think there are several things that could be done, and I think there are several things that can be done, and several things that should be done. One of those is we do have actually a good range of tests that we can apply now in the TB diagnostic landscape. The issue is that at the moment, a proportion of people who have TB or could have TB are not getting access to those range of diagnostics. So, if you look at molecular testing, for example, it is a question of number of equipment that is there, how well those pieces of equipment are being used, how well they are being maintained, and the specimen transportation systems that are used to identify people, or rather to get people to have access to these tests. And all these things need to be improved. Because we have a range of diagnostic equipment that's available, countries can now choose which ones of these they can use. I think for me, the big gap right now is probably in the screening landscape. Too few people are being reached. I mean, the Stop TB Partnership has said that of vulnerable populations that have been identified, at least 90% of those should be screened for TB. So if I, in my country, have identified population X as being vulnerable, I should be able to reach that population with screening services to cover about 90% of those populations. I have seen very little of that across the world, and I've been fortunate to travel around several countries in Asia and in Africa. And so the question is, what is the problem? Why are we not able to reach the populations that we want to reach with the TB screening services? And it is possible that we have been using approaches that are probably not easy to upscale. But going forward, I think with the technologies that are there, looking at community systems, looking at the availability of chest radiography, for example, increasingly being available with simple backpack-like X-ray machines and what have you, the future for me looks bright. I think we should be able to reach populations with screening tools. And also, we are seeing that with the introduction of AI into radiography, that would be a huge advance if this AI, if our digital portable X-rays could be AI enabled, so that at the end of the day, you are screening people with the most sensitive tool that can pick up TB when TB is there. So that seems to be the future for me.
Yeah. So I mean, just to summarize what I heard, that there is a lot of access issue of the newer tools, but you are also kind of very optimistic in the way that the digital and the AI landscape for, especially for X-rays coming and for the imaging, because it's a sensitive tool, and you also mentioned about the portability component of X-ray has been now taken care. On the other side, if you look at most of the, and this region is actually hosting around 26% of the global burden, right? And at least at the county level, we already have X-rays, which is maybe partially digital, partially will be analog systems. So what are your thoughts on that? Because are we leveraging that existing infrastructure to benefit the patients who are coming to our health system? The other one which we discussed about the outreach part of it, because we're going closer to this thing, which is ideal, and which should be the way that we're moving forward when you talk about universal health coverage and then closer to the community service delivery. But on the other hand, we already have built in an infrastructure. Do you see value in AI tools coming and helping that system as well?
So like I said at the beginning, there are two things. Equipment is there. This equipment needs to be used.
Yep.
Even as you expand the portfolio of, even as you buy more equipment, what you have in the country needs to be used, and needs to be used effectively and used efficiently.
Yeah.
And therefore, for me, now, if District X or sub-district or has capacity to do chest radiography, that chest radiography capacity could be AI enabled to be able to offer an enhanced diagnostic capability to be able to identify people who may have TB. And I actually think that it's really important to know that at this moment in time, the barriers to TB diagnosis may be within the healthcare system itself. All of us want to go for outreaches and want to screen people at the community level. So I fully agree that the push forward, maybe the way forward, is to use all these things that are already existing within healthcare systems.
Yeah. So from a standpoint of reimagining TB care, I think if I'm hearing you clearly, so let's actually reimagine what we have than looking for existing tools, upcoming tools. Like we have a lot of room for accommodating the existing leveraging the existing tools and more. And I was actually listening to your last presentation, which you did mention about strengthening the primary healthcare delivery and then getting TB plugged in to do that. Than actually TB kind of teaching the other systems. And you clearly defined about the practical approach to health concept, which has been there since 2008. I was part of Dr. Tomani's consultation. We did in my state of Kerala in India. We did try to actually come up with some guidelines. I was a co-author in that guideline, and now I'm hearing that you had first-hand experience of doing that. Many of the technologies, especially when you talk about X-rays, not only have intelligence to kind of capture and call out tuberculosis, there are other disease actually capabilities to be there, which resonates with some of the thought process you mentioned about practical approach to health. What are your thoughts on that?
I think for me, looking at what has happened in this country, for example, there was a TB prevalence survey that was done in this country. Huge numbers of chest X-rays were taken, and ideally after the prevalence surveys, those X-rays would have been left there and nobody would have remembered about them, and that would be it. But one of our young people here, called Brenda Mungai, thought of this idea of going to look at those X-rays and then subject them to AI and see what kind of diagnostic outcomes
are actually there, right?
And interestingly, of those X-rays that were abnormal but did not have TB as a diagnosis, it was stuff like cardiomegaly, large hearts, and cardiomegaly with heart failure, or patterns that would suggest COPD and stuff like that. And all these things, I think, if you have a system that is able to tell at the primary healthcare level that you've taken this x-ray, it could be TB, so go ahead and do your TB test. Or you've taken this x-ray, but it's not normal. However, you don't know what it is. If you have AI-enabled system, then you are able to know that it could be, it's a lung nodule, it could be cancer, it's a large heart, it's cardiomegaly, it could be heart failure.
Correct.
I think that for me is a game changer. And we should use that experience, TB prevalence survey review of those x-rays, to go to the next step of ensuring that chest radiography is not just used for identifying one single disease, TB. We should be thinking integrated approaches initially within the lung disease or lung healthcare system, and even beyond the lung healthcare system. I think that is the way we should move.
Perfect. I think Dr. Chakaya, you nailed it in the way that you are to. You also mentioned about the multiplexing yesterday. So post-pandemic, we have seen that a lot of multiplexing in the diagnostic space. And in a way that you are also trying to say that, okay, there is a lot of scope of multiplexing within the X-ray also, which is something which you just mentioned right now, right? Is that correct capturing or understanding?
I think it's really understanding that at the end of the day, human beings, when they fall ill, don't fall ill with one disease. Well, I mean, we are interested in TB. However, populations and communities have more than TB as their health problem.
Correct.
And therefore having systems, diagnostic systems, imaging systems, laboratory platforms that are able to pick up more than one disease is a game changer. Because one machine is able to tell you you have TB, you don't have TB, you could have this, you could have the other. For me, that's a game changer. And that's what you want to do. You want immediately to be able to identify what could be the problem and applying therefore the next set of interventions to be able to identify what the problem really is. So multiplex systems for me is a wonderful thing.
Correct. So I recall my early days of association with practical approach in lung health. The classical teaching is that you screen 100 patients or people for tuberculosis, then you probably find 10 to 15, and the rest of the 95 is still coughing, still have fever, still have ailment. What are you going to offer? If you're not going to offer, that patient won't have a trust in a TB control program. So then probably you double click it a little bit and then look at an integrated care, which exactly that you just mentioned that now. We are in 2023, and 2030 and 2035 are actually in front of us, not too far. And we are all gearing up to the second UN high-level mission on tuberculosis, health system, and then pandemic preparedness, which is, UHC and pandemic preparedness, which is coming in. What are your thoughts on what should be a TB control program, let's say in this region or in your country, should be kind of putting inside the UN high-level mission? This is what I would want to be kind of in that statement or articulation, which I am committed to do it as a country. What are your thoughts on that?
I think for me the big thing really as going forward with our TB program is that they should be neatly and very well embedded in the healthcare system. And program delivery should be based on a comprehensive health system approach. And this for me means if we are going to the communities, we don't screen people for one disease, we screen people for multiple diseases that are of importance, of public health importance in that setting. If people are coming in to healthcare facilities, they should be screened or tested or treated for multiple diseases because that's what populations have. So I think going forward, and I like the fact that the UNHLM now is happening at the same time. I mean, our TB meeting is happening together with universal health coverage and what have you. Because I think these things need to fit little together. Then we are probably likely to make better progress and faster progress in trying to achieve our goal of ending the disease that we have been committed to for many years, called TB. So an integrated approach, using universal health coverage as a platform to be able to move us a little faster towards ending TB.
Yeah. I mean, interestingly, so I think a couple of days back we had WHO and Global Fund revisiting their collaborative framework, and then they restated this thing what you are just mentioning about, like more of integrated service delivery thing, focusing on capacity building in that direction, focusing on probably like building models on integrated care using Global Fund money. So maybe they have a bundle of 3 diseases. Within that 3 diseases, how we can actually demonstrate more, I think at least breaking the silo between the diseases, and then have integration between that 3 diseases to start with something. I represent an industry which works on AI in health, and then radiology interpretation. As a global expert in health system and tuberculosis and lung health, what are your advice to an industry like us to actually kind of plan for the future, and how do we have to diversify from a technology standpoint, technology delivery, manufacturing point?
Well, first of all, I think I think the future is digital, and I think you should, as an industry, you should continue developing new products, enhanced products that really help clinicians, not replace clinicians, because clinicians will always be needed.
Correct.
To make the hard decisions sometimes. But I think if the big load of decision making is really, really important. And I think the focus on multiple common problems, you can't cover everything, of course, but the focus on those issues that are of the highest priority as far as public health is concerned, and for me, as far as lung health is concerned, is key.
Yeah.
Now, what are the issues that I worry about as a lung health specialist or a lung health enthusiast? I'm worried about lower respiratory tract. I'm worried about TB. I'm worried about in the future we will. COVID-19 is seemingly a little lower down there, but we don't know what is going to come next. And when the next epidemic or pandemic comes, we want to be able to confront that pandemic with better tools.
Correct.
Tools that can be used at the lowest possible level, highly accurate in terms of predicting what may be the cause of that condition. And this is really key. So digitalization, multiplexing, and increasing the accuracy of these tools to be able to identify what the underlying condition might be would be really, really important.
Absolutely, I think so. It's completely aligned with our organization philosophy to actually look beyond one disease and then look at a larger portfolio, maybe to solving we have a bunch of engineers who have this skill set of deciphering data and putting that and feeding that into computer, and then kind of giving output which makes sense and assistance to finish clinicians, health workers, and to solve most of the problems you discuss. So thank you, Dr. Chakaya, to actually spending time with a small startup like us in Cure AI. It has been so enriching and kind of enlightening the conversation with you. We take to the heart your whole advice of actually focusing on health system, and then probably multiplexing. Within our capabilities to of AI and digital, we certainly will have more range of applications and tools to assist physicians and empower the health systems. Given that we are all in the helm of working for tuberculosis control, we would want to see the globe ending TB by 2035. Yes, we can end TB.